Pittsburgh, Minnesota. Adam Thielen is out, right? Dalvin Cook, though, latest reports have him trending towards playing just 11 days after dislocating his left shoulder. Geoff, who's your captain tonight, and why is it Mr. Primetime, Kirk Cousins?
Yes. I actually think Kirk Cousins is an interesting pivot play, but I'm not going to go with Kirk Cousins. I think that you should really be looking to the wide receivers in this game. We've got the Vikings who've given up the most yards per pass attempt against in the league over the last 3 games, and you've got the Steelers who are going to be without Joe Hayden. I just think everyone's probably going to be thinking the same thing with Justin Jefferson. I think there's a lot of potential, though, with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. I'll throw out Deontay Johnson as my favorite just because I think Claypool is still dealing with some kind of injury, just hasn't looked himself. Deontay Johnson at 10-2 in the flex, and he's he's more expensive, but he's a lot cheaper than Justin Jefferson in the captain spot at 15-3. That gives you salary flexibility and also gives you a lot of lower ownership here. I think it also gives you good leverage because I think a lot of people will be looking at Najee Harris against a weaker Vikings rush defense, but the Vikings are getting some linebackers back this week, so I don't know if it's going to be smooth sailing for Harris. I really like Deontay Johnson. The targets are going to be there. He's healthy, and like I said, this Vikings pass defense has been brutal most of the year, and especially the last 3 games.
Yeah, dude, Vikings have allowed the most DraftKings points to wide receivers too, so all signs point to another busy and productive outing for him. Reid, what do you want to do at captain?
We already know this. We already know the answer to this question. It's Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Come on now. No, it's look, here's the stats, right? He ranks 3rd amongst quarterbacks with at least 100 attempts in PFF, passing grade, 4th in adjusted pass percentage, completion percentage, 5th in passer rating. So the stats are there. And I actually think that to what Geoff was talking about with a lot of people going to Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook potentially being back and people saying, hey, if I'm in my fantasy season-long playoffs and I'm playing Dalvin Cook, he has to be a player that I have to play in Showdown, right? There's people out there who will do that. I'm not saying that's the right play, but I do think there is some leverage that you can get with Kirk Cousins. I don't think his roster percentage is going to be that high in the captain spot, and look what he's going to do against a 30th adjusted DVOA defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their defense is not good, and they're going to be without Joe Hayden. So give me that beautiful number 8, Kirk Cousins in the captain spot, baby.
Oh, man. Wow. Pearce, who's your guy, man? 1.5 times the salary, but 1.5 times the point in return.
I agree with everything they're saying, but I'll be the fool and I will follow the crowd and I'll just play Justin Jefferson.
Yes.
So, well, I get it. Everyone's going to want to play him, but there's a reason why everyone wants to play him. And they've mentioned all the stats. This is a bad pass defense. We know he has a tremendous ceiling, and that's with Thielen on the field. Thielen is gone. We're going to see a volume and usage rate that we probably haven't seen with Jefferson all season. Joe Hayden is out. The one thing you worry about, Pittsburgh does have a good pressure rate. They're number 1 in adjusted sack rate, but Minnesota's got a great offensive line. They are top 5 in adjusted sack rate. They're top 5 in pressure, top 5 in quarterback hurry. So Cousins, as bad as he's been and as inconsistent as he has been at times, he'll have time to pass the ball, and he's going to feed the ball to Jefferson. You can get multiple touchdowns from him. We can get over 100 yards. I have no problem just following the crowd and taking Jefferson. And
he has scored 25.9 DK fantasy points 3 times over the past 4 weeks. That includes one that was north of 40 points. I like it, Pearce. Okay, Pearce and Geoff, this is when we love to talk to you guys about Showdown plays. Favorite value play? Favorite value play tonight in the Showdown. Pearce, are you making up another player?
No. Well, if you consider former Jacksonville players made-up players, D.D. Westbrook.
Yeah!
We've seen him. He's been flashy and splashy at times in the past, and he's going to step in here. I know people might expect K.J. Osborne to get a bigger role, but he's played 46% of the snaps in the slot. I would imagine they're not going to suddenly just change his role from slot receiver to immediately swapping over to the outside. He'll pick up some of Thielen's work and 2 receiver sets on the outside. But for the most part, I expect D.D. Westbrook to play at least 60% of the snaps. We've already mentioned this is a bad pass defense. I know we're hearing about Cook and we know about Madison and the Vikings can run, and this is a defense you can run against. The issue is the Vikings just don't want to run. Cousins has passed the ball the 5th most times this season. Although they can run, they like to pass. And Jefferson's going to get high volume. Where else is it going to go? Maybe Conklin. Westbrook, we've seen him hit these big plays. He's going to be in a spot. I like it.
Oh, you are brilliant. I love you for that. Go ahead, Geoff.
I mean, okay, this is the galaxy brain thinking here. Again, we're talking strategy for big showdowns, big field GPPs. Everyone's looking at the Minnesota situation. Thielen's out. Osborne, D.D. Westbrook, and I agree, like Westbrook's cheap, so I'd probably prefer him over Osborne too. But what about the other side? Chase Claypool only played 63% of the snaps last week. Guess who also played over 60% of the snaps? Ray McLeod the third played over 60% of the snaps. He's getting a bunch of work, and his targeting has been a little bit spotty, but it's also been pretty high volume in spots. And I just finished talking about how bad this Minnesota Vikings secondary is. It's a player with good speed. Definitely can catch a deep ball, and you might see him play more here than you realize because Chase Claypool, I don't think is 100%, and now it's a short week too. So who knows what his status is going to be like? And look, I mean, he also went off about Mike Tomlin talking about the music in practice, so maybe he's still holding a grudge. I just think McLeod is a good big field GPP target because I think Pittsburgh's going to be passing here more than people think. They are the underdogs, and McLeod's cheap, and most eyes aren't going to be on him.
Reid, hook me up with some value for tonight, dude.
Yeah, what about the guy last week who called the Dallas defense and they scored 17 points for my value play? Not like Simi Fehoko, who had 0 targets, 0 catches, and zeros across the board. But
did you see that pronunciation? That was.
Well, I mean,
He's a master.
I would hope so. I grew up in in Polynesia. But anyway, I digress. Ray McLeod, that was gonna be my guy, Jeff. I was sort of on the same narrative, the same train of thought as you were. 67% of the snaps, he ran 19 routes. That's more than James Washington, right? So, like Chase Claypool and these guys are going to be out there, but that's that third receiver position, James Robinson, that you got to figure that Ray McLeod, if he gets one of these bigger plays, that he could break one off, right? And Pat Freiermuth, I think, is going to be a popular play. But remember, the Minnesota defense, they're getting the linebackers back. The guys mentioned it: Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks. They're practicing full. They're going to be back, and Harrison Smith. These guys have been really good defending tight ends, so I don't think Freiermuth is actually going to be a factor in this one. That leads to more 3 wide receiver sets, and I think Ray McLeod gets it.
Reid, take us to the DK Sportsbook, please. Your favorite player prop for this Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm going to be L7 square like Pearce here and go with Justin Jefferson over 92.5 receiving yards, minus 115. This guy's been playing out of his mind recently. Since week 10, the guy's averaging 145 receiving yards, 8 catches on 12 targets. In his matchup, Arthur Millette, Cam Sutton, Akila Weatherspoon, these guys are not good in coverage. Justin Jefferson, we've seen this. We talked about it yesterday, Emerson, that when the star guy goes down, and even if Dalvin Cook is in, but he's at 50 or 60%, whatever he's at, or Adam Thielen out and also Cook, it doesn't necessarily go to a KJ Osborne or those type of players when one player is out. It goes to the next best talented player, and that's Justin Jefferson. He is the most talented receiver and player on this team in this game. So, yeah, give me that over 92.5 receiving yards.
Okay, cool. What do you want here, Mr. Pearce?
Well, I'm going to disagree with the panel, and I don't like the Pittsburgh pass attack in this game. So give me Ben Roethlisberger under 257.5 yards passing. Mike Zimmer has faced Ben Roethlisberger 15 times. He's very familiar with him. He limited Ben during his heyday when Ben had a good line and had weapons with the Steelers. Well, he doesn't have a line. He doesn't have very many. I mean, we're talking about Ray Cloud. What are we doing here? Does he have the weapons to pass for yards? I don't think so. Zimmer does a really good job of mixing up his schemes, a lot of pre-snap read motion that I think is going to mess with Ben Roethlisberger. We've seen him struggle with that this season already. And when we've seen him play well, it's been against kind of some vanilla man-to-man defenses. He's not going to face that. He's going to deal with pressure. I think this Pittsburgh team is really going to struggle to move the ball. You're going to see 3 and outs. You're going to see punts. I don't see the yards coming through the air.
Yeah, he's been under that mark, I believe, in 6 of his 11 starts, too. Jeff, player prop you like?
Pierce disagreeing with the panel that he's also on is next level. I like the over on Justin Jefferson's props too, but I think a different way you can play it on the DraftKings Sportsbook is, again, go to my favorite section, which is the player props. Almost hit Damian Harris last week at big odds, but you can get over Justin Jefferson over 125 yards and Deontay Johnson over 125 yards at plus 1,000, or you can go with Claypool and Jefferson at over 100 yards each at plus 1,000. Sprinkle both. That way, Jefferson, like we said, we all like him to go over like 90 yards. Why not just take him in these bigger props? And then you just, basically whichever Pittsburgh receiver goes off, if Reid and I are right and Pearce is wrong, you get paid here. So I think that's a really interesting prop. Again, for all of Ben's faults, I mean, he's going up against probably the weakest pass defense Mike Zimmer has ever had. So I still think there'll be big plays there for Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. Again, player props, you go Claypool and Jefferson, Deontay Johnson and Claypool. You can get big odds there.
Jeff, what's your favorite bet overall tonight as we wrap up this segment with Slate Approved Pick?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Vikings here at -3. I don't think this line is super incorrect, but I do think the Vikings are getting a little bit disrespected coming off a loss. Since 2017, Mike Zimmer is 20-10 ATS after a loss. I'll roll with the Vikings here -3.
God, they've been a dreadful bet though this season. 1-9 ATS in their last 10 games. Wow. Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, not a problem, bud. That's what I'm here for. An expert host. Reid.
Yeah, I just saw a thing come across my phone that Dalvin Cook is a game time decision.
Okay.
I don't think that we were thinking otherwise
Great.
on that, but I'm going my guy Cousins. Oh, I don't know, my guy. I've become a Kirk Cousins.
This is ridiculous.
Over 22.5 completions, 7th amongst 38 qualified quarterbacks in passer rating under pressure. So, Pearce mentioned it, that the Steelers do bring a lot of pressure, but you take a look at his grades out in PFF under pressure, and he's solid. He's like top 5, top 10 in that category. And so when you take a look at that, 22.5 completions, I don't think that's out of the question. So that's at -125.
Pearce, Slate Approved Pick, your favorite bet?
I'm with Jeff, but Jeff didn't really go enough into detail. Yeah, the Vikings are being disrespected. They lost last week to a Lions team that's pretty much a 500 team. As we all know.
God.
So we shouldn't take too much away from that loss. In all seriousness, though, the Steelers tied that team as well. And really, what I really think this line reflects is they gave up a touchdown pass on the last play of the game, and you flip it around, you look at the Steelers, the Ravens miss a 2-point conversion. Let's imagine that the Ravens get that 2, and the Lions don't catch that pass for a touchdown against a prevent defense on the last play of the game. This line would be much higher. So give me the Vikings -3.